Have you ever been denied a spot in a program or failed to meet the standards of a certain test? Students of all grade levels, including college students, have struggled with testing. Teachers in school programs give tests to students in order to evaluate where the student stands in that class. I believe tests aren't the answers to evaluate a student learning. There are other alternatives to evaluate a student learning that are more effective, and you will see better results instead of testing. Tests determine a lot of things, whether you get into college or a college program. For younger kids, it can determine whether they move on to the next grade level. Tests can also cause physical problems to people taking the test. Grade Power Learning says it can create major stress. Students taking the test who are very stressed can cause them to fail or do poorly on the test due to unnecessary stress that test taking can cause. This not only causes stress, but it can also cause the students to dislike the school and even give them a negative outlook on school due to the testing. Having tests can also limit the teachers, and they might end up teaching to the test. For example, like the STAR test. Teachers are evaluated based on the scores of the students and can cause them to lose their job if the students do not pass the test or do not meet the standards. That's why teachers only end up teaching for the test instead of creating a fun and creative style on teaching. Teaching to tests can also cause the students' learning to be limited and can cause students to be bored, resulting in sleeping in class or ignoring the teacher. This type of teaching limits the full potential of students and their understanding of the subject. Tests only evaluate certain things, but do not take in consideration of external factors. These factors range from a student's home life, anxiety, and how the student is. A smart and bright student can have good grades and good conduct, but they do not test very well due to factors such as these. Test anxiety is a real thing, and students struggle with it all the time. Anxiety can cause students to panic and rush their test, resulting in a failing grade. Rather than the testing, teachers and schools should evaluate the students' learning by looking at the students throughout the whole year and not just one test. By doing this, more students are likely to pass and excel in their schooling, resulting in good grades and the opportunity to achieve higher goals. Tests only evaluate the person taking the test. In the article by Exploring Your Mind, they said there's no evaluation of whether the teacher or the educational environment is doing the things right. Tests can also cause competition instead of cooperation, resulting in students focusing more on getting good grades rather than learning and understanding the material behind it. Instead of tests, teachers should evaluate the student's growth. Teachers can do this by making sure the students fully understand the material rather than just memorizing the facts for the test. Evaluating the students should also identify what the student knows and what they need to know. Once figuring out what they need to know and don't know, teachers can direct their learning and their environment in helping students with what they don't know. Teachers being flexible and willing to help students in areas they don't understand will result in the student's growth and knowledge. Lastly, another way to evaluate a student's learning is by keeping a portfolio for each student throughout the year. This way, the teachers and the students can see their growth in learning that they have accomplished. In conclusion, testing only does more harm than good. That's why testing a student does not fully evaluate a student's learning. There's many ways to evaluate a student's learning, but testing isn't one of them. This only causes things like stress and anxiety for most students. If you want to evaluate a student's learning, evaluate factors that play into a student's life, like teachers, home life, and learning itself. By getting rid of testing, more students will excel and achieve in their grade level.